I gotta stop.
Yeah.
Does it always start with me? I say, all right. What's going on, everybody? It's your man Lucky.
And Lucky Charm. And we are two against.
The win.
Thank you. Look at.
That's one.
We got it.
That's
Hey.
cool. Anyway,
It only took like 10 videos. But
today this video right here is going to be a video reply to a comment that we came across in the comment section, and so I thought it was a decent comment, and I think every comment is a decent comment. However, some things I'm going to pick and choose, to talk about and have a conversation about. All right. So first of all, we appreciate everybody who has been supporting the channel. We appreciate everyone who has subscribed to the channel, as well as either hit the like button, shared the content, or what did I miss? Or left a comment.
yeah,
Let's pull up the comment.
I got it right here. You want me to read it?
I do.
Okay. So the comment says.
Oh wait, hold up. Which video is the comment?
Oh, the comment is under the video title. I don't even remember the title.
It was when we were sitting down talking,
We were talking about
the
It says an honest talk about the beginner motorcycle class. So we were talking about the classes or the process of taking a motorcycle class. And so this person's comment says, I don't understand how Americans think that a 2 to 3 day course makes you a rider, but it is better than nothing. I hope that most riders are willing to take advanced courses in order to learn how to ride through traffic and cornering, because learning with an instructor on the road is what helps you to become knowledgeable about how to ride. It would have been great for USA to adopt the European system of bike license.
Okay. Who I like to give credit to the
Yes. So that came from at Poper.
Pull up the thing so that the name.
It's right there.
Not the handle.
Oh.
Yeah, so that the name might be different than Okay, Truth is freedom.
Yes.
All right. So I think it was a decent comment. So let me start by asking you guys this, and let me know in the comment section. What makes somebody a rider? What is the requirements for you to be a rider? Or when you say or hear that someone is a rider, what does that mean to you? With the class, right? With the 2 to 3 day course that you take either at Harley or at, Motorcycle Foundation, whatever it is, I don't think that it necessarily makes you a rider, but it gives you the bare minimums that are required to pass the road test. It's bare minimum. I don't think, well,
I equate it to, it's like building a house. Before you can build the house, you got to lay a foundation, whether that's a foundation with a crawl space or a flat foundation. So I feel like the class is just the foundation. That's all it did. It just gave you the foundational piece to build upon, which is like building upon your skills or whatever. But without that class, then you like missing about that. Like you just starting with building skills and you haven't learned the bare minimum, I guess, skills or ways to maneuver a bike. Because we talked about, right, that maneuvering it at slow paces is the hardest, like one of the hardest things you have to try to figure out, versus just getting out there and opening it up, right, on a straightaway or whatever. So
right. Okay, so what's your qualification for someone to be a rider, right? Is it whether or not they're even licensed? Is it the years that they've been riding? Is it the actual mileage that they have under their belt riding? Is it the conditions that they can ride under? I know I see some guys pulled up under an overpass when it's raining. You know what I mean? So are they not riders because it's raining and, I don't know, maybe they don't want to ride in the rain? Let me know in the comment section. What makes someone a rider?
Well, can I give my perspective?
Of course you can. You're going to give it anyway. Okay, you can't give your perspective.
I was going to give it anyway. I'm glad you know. But I think out of those things you said, I think it's about the miles. Because, and let me tell you why I say that. because you could get licensed and or been a rider for say 15, 20 years. But what if in those 15, 20 years you only rode 200 miles? Are you really a rider? You know what I mean? And I'm being drastic with the number, but that's really no miles. You know what I mean? So have you really been out there practicing and riding and getting better and understanding some of the things like this truth is freedom, talking about like cornering and all the things? Probably not. So I think it's the miles you actually put in on the road, because then you've been actually practicing techniques and learning on, as I said, like learning on the job. You know what I mean? Like you're learning in the process, because honestly, that's what he said. You go out on the road with the instructor and learn. Like, I don't think riding is one of those things you just learn in a classroom. Or I know some people have been calling out in our comments, like watching Be the Boss. I think you absolutely can learn stuff from Be the Boss from watching videos, but you got to go practice it. You know what I mean? It's not like I just do it. It is, I don't know. So I think it's miles.
Okay, so if somebody gets licensed, get on their bike and ride on the interstate from state to state for 2 to 3 states, straight interstate riding, not necessarily riding in and out of traffic, in and out of town, making left turns, right turns, stop and go traffic. Just get on the interstate, ride 300 miles down the interstate.
That's a fair point.
So now they got miles.
So that's
right?
a fair point.
And that's all they do is go up the interstate, come back down.
Let me clarify. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it in that position, but you make a very valid point. It's not just miles. I think maybe it's a combination of miles mixed with where have you ridden those miles. So meaning, like, to your point, it can't just be highway miles, because you're on the highway, you're not going to learn those like stop go skills. Somebody darted out in traffic. How do I stop the bike? How do I keep myself safe? Like I was talking about in our other video, that somebody, came over on me and it caused me to fishtail my back end this fishtail because I had to grab the brakes so fast. But I knew when to release to like get the bike under control and didn't panic, you know what I'm saying, to give it more throttle, make it, fall over or anything like that. So anyways, my point there is exactly what you're saying, which is I think it's not just miles. I'll walk that back. It is a combination of miles and where have you executed those miles, like, and it's got to be more than just highway miles, because you definitely not. Yeah, you ain't learning a lot just getting on the highway. Or I mean, I guess if you said you were getting on the highway and you always in traffic, maybe if you live in Atlanta somewhere, right? But I mean, or New York, for that matter. But it definitely can't just be highway miles. So fair point.
Okay, what about conditions? Weather conditions.
I think that makes some.
Some people are what they call fair weather.
Yeah.
Fair weather riders. They only ride when the sun is out, when the weather is nice. Mm-hmm. Are you more of a rider if you can ride in 27-degree wind chill? I'm a
rider.
So I need y'all to let us know in the comment section what makes you. You know what I'm saying? What makes somebody a rider? Yeah, I get it. I fully understand that 2 to 3 day course doesn't make you a rider, but maybe there's a word that has to go in front of rider, experienced rider, or beginning or beginner rider, or because I think everybody who rides, you know what I mean? I mean, just by definition of the word rider. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we got to kind of break it down. So let me know, y'all, in the comment section, what's your definition of a rider? What makes somebody a rider or not a rider? And a lot of times I'll hear that when it comes to things like slow maneuvers, right? You'll have somebody who's been riding for years but can't slow maneuver. Mm-hmm. But does that mean that they're not a rider? Think about this. You have people who've been driving for years. However, if you take them to a big city, they can't parallel park. Or it doesn't even have to be a big city, just anywhere where they don't typically parallel park, and they can't parallel park. Yet they've been driving for 20, 30, 40 years and never been in an accident. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So does that mean that they don't know how to drive, or they're not a driver simply because they haven't mastered parallel
Or
parking?
they can't U-turn on a tight road.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So do you judge whether or not somebody is a rider based on the difficulty at which they're trying to do something and they can't do? So are you not a rider if you're not good at slow maneuvering? Like if you have to walk your duck walk or whatever your bike, and you turn and push the bike and you can't do slow maneuvering, does that mean now you're not a rider because you can't do the slow, the slow stuff? I mean, you think about it, when you pull your bike out, from the time you pull your bike out, ride it, and pull it back in, of that whole ride, you could have been riding for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, whatever the case is. It was only that long that you had to make that slow maneuver, even either pulling your bike out of the garage or the driveway or pulling it in, For the most part, you were probably just on the open road, just riding, So, yeah, I think that class is strictly is just bare minimums to get you past the road test. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there needs to be, and people that might not like this, maybe there needs to be some type of advanced learning, when it comes to riding. Maybe that course needs to be upgraded. Maybe there needs to be some, because to pass your driving test, you actually out on the street with other cars doing these maneuvers. So I don't know. Will that make someone more of a rider if the road test was two people out? You know what I'm saying? The instructor or the tester, the proctor, whoever it is that's
But you know
doing the
what?
test is on their motorcycle, and then you're on your motorcycle, and they're following you as you're doing the as you're doing the maneuvers.
Yeah, but you know what? Do some of the testers. Some of them don't even ride, right? Like if you go to the DMV,
I don't know. I know up north, for when we take the road test, it's not on how it is with the cones and whatever
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that. They're in a car. You know what I'm saying? We're riding,
Following
they're
you,
beeping the horn, telling
telling
us
you
to
what
do
to do.
this and flashing. Yeah, so
Interesting.
every I guess it's up to each state. Each state does a
Yeah.
different, and motorcycles is more of recreational here. So maybe it's just, I don't want to say it's not that big of a deal, but
Yeah.
maybe it's just not that big of a deal. Maybe if for every car there was a motorcycle on the road,
Then
then
it'll
maybe the rules
be
and
different.
regulations might
Yeah.
be a little more, a little more difficult, or the test would be, maybe a little more in depth as to what it is that you have to do in order to pass and actually get licensed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, so everywhere is different. I don't know what the motorcycle, I don't want to say the motorcycle culture, but I don't know what it is like in other places. Maybe there are just as many motorcycles on the road as there are cars, and so they hold the motorcycles maybe to the same, standards or
Yeah.
whatever. But like I said, y'all let me know, what is it that makes somebody a rider? What do you have to see somebody do for you to say, nah, they ain't no rider? You know what I'm saying? Because somebody brand new who just got their license, they're licensed.
Yeah.
They're
They're
licensed
technically a rider.
as
But
a,
I think you nailed it though, Lucky, when you said like there's preceding words to the rider, right? Like I don't consider myself an advanced rider by any means. Like I still say I'm like beginner intermediate ish, like working my way there. Only because I don't feel like I rode a long period after the class. Like after class I did try to ride all the time, but then there was like this gap. Don't roll your eyes. I did. Yeah, I got on your nerves. Yeah. Creating rides and stuff. But I feel like there's still more riding I need to do before I would be like, yeah, I'm at this kind of intermediate level where I know more than the average beginner. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just me personally. That's my personal perspective.
Okay. So, yeah, anybody that's interested in taking the course, either at Harley Davidson or the Motorcycle, Foundation or whatever the case may be, passing that class, taking that class and passing that class doesn't make you a writer.
No.
It makes you licensed.
Yeah.
Right? You have a license which gives you the bare minimums to go out and figure out the real life, you know? Yeah. But maybe it should be something similar to like, so I have my commercial driver's license, right? And with my commercial driver's license, there are different classes. Well, just like any license, there are different classes of license based on the vehicle that you took the road test in, right? So you can get your C class, you know, you can get your B class, or you can get your, you know, your A class, right? And each one requires you to take a road test in a different, you know, in a different vehicle. And so maybe it should be like that, right? If, you know, you start out on a small bike, you get licensed for that small bike. And now if you want to step it up to get a bigger bike, then you have to be able to show that you can maneuver that bigger bike, you know? So maybe that'll differentiate or separate the riders, you know? So if you want to get a big old a Harley, you know, a touring bike, then in order to get that class license, you know what I'm saying? They put motorcycles in different classes. In order to get that class license, maybe you have to get out and be able to do certain maneuvers on that bike. Now,
somebody about to come for you.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying that, you know, they should do that, right? But I'm in alignment with what the commenter said about, you know, because maybe that's how they have to do it in the UK or whatever. You was gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna clarify. We said UK, but he said Europe, so that could be a number of places.
Okay, my bad. You know what I'm saying? So
I think maybe I'm interested. I'll probably go look it up after we finish this conversation. But I think they probably have to do like ride so many hours, perhaps. Right. And so I do think that that's a good requirement, because personally, coming out of the class, like I said, like people like, you know, why did you go get the road glide so quick? Well, or start out with the 750 versus that. Well, it was because I didn't have enough riding time that I felt comfortable, right? So I didn't want this big bike. So I think to that point, getting additional riding time as a part of the qualifications, I think is important. Just like how I said, somebody shouldn't come out from taking a class and don't have a bike that they can go ride on, because it's like anything else. You don't use it, you lose it, you know? So you just start back at square one. And I think we had a comment where somebody said, yeah, that's essentially what happened to them, right? They waited a year before they really got a bike, and they had to, you know, start over teaching themselves again. But now, like, so they got some of that foundational stuff, but none of it has been put into practice. So yeah, I would holistically support, you know, there being riding hours, right? Some type of minimum associated with the qualification to be licensed. That's just me personally. Because I think it's why you got dangerous people out here on the road.
You got dangerous people out here on the road, not necessarily. Well, I can't say. I can't say, because I was a danger to myself. Like, you were, because I was just.
I mean, it's like,
I knew what I was doing, but I mean, I was doing some stuff that ultimately, you know.
And don't get me wrong. I think motorcyclists are mostly a danger to themselves versus other people, right? Which is why they'll let a younger person go get licensed.
You're gonna have to explain yourself on that one.
So meaning it's more likely that if you get in an accident on a motorcycle, you're gonna hurt or yourself more than you will somebody else.
That's not a danger. That's I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. But so I'm saying, like, you're not going out here causing somebody else to die because if you're on a motorcycle by yourself. Like, typically, it's not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying that, because it has happened. There are stories, right? But typically, the danger is more likely to the motorcyclist versus anybody else.
So you're saying you're more likely to be the victim of your danger. Yeah, because I didn't put myself. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, so I just think that having those additional hours requirement is why I say that, right, would be, again, for a self safety preservation thing, not, you know what I'm saying, less about other people, but just so that you are confident. And I mean, I know I get it. Some people get out here and they're confident regardless of that, but it don't mean it make it safe.
Yeah, I think motorcycles, like I said, because of the number of motorcycles on the road versus the cars, it's just looked at more of recreational, and I think that's why it's not so heavily. It's just not that strict in order to be able to get your license. So, but yeah. What do y'all think? What makes somebody a rider? What makes them a rider, right? And I get it. You can break down experienced rider or this type of rider and this type of rider, but what makes, in your eyes, what makes them a rider? If you consider yourself a rider, why do you consider yourself a rider? Because you ride once a week. You know what I mean? Some people ride to work every day. I personally really don't like riding to work because now you spoiled my ride because I'm going to work and I really don't want to go to work.
And then, I can't work it in.
You know what I mean? Like I can't even man, you messed me up. Now getting off work, I'm okay because now it's like, all right, I get to do a little something, right? But does that make you a rider if you ride to work every day? If you ride from state to state, does that make you a rider? If you in a club, you know what I mean? Man, you ain't been no bike club, you ain't no rider. What makes someone a rider? All right. And so I want to shout out Truth is Freedom for your comment. Let us know what is it like? What is it like in the UK as far as the criteria to get your license? Like, do you really have to have a certain amount of hours with the instructor or something like that? Let us know. You was gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna clarify. We said UK, but he said Europe, so that could be a number of places.
He said Europe?
Yes, he said Europe.
Oh, I thought you said.
No,
did
he
you
said.
say? Oh, okay, my bad. You was gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna clarify. We said UK, but he said Europe, so that could be a number of places.
He said Europe?
Yes, he said Europe.
Oh, I thought you said.
No,
did you say?
Said,
oh, okay, my bad. But I mean,
same thing. I mean, not same thing. No offense. Truth is freedom, because UK, Europe, that's very different. Like there's different parts. So I'm very familiar. So I'm just saying. But he said Europe, so I don't know what part of Europe. He said European system. So.
Oh, okay. Well. You know what I'm trying to say. Hopefully, right? No offense.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great question. Interested to see y'all's comments.
Yeah, and do you consider yourself a rider? And if so, why or why not? All right. You got anything else you want to add?
I don't have anything else. I think
you consider yourself a rider?
Yeah, I consider myself a rider, but I consider myself a beginner rider.
How many? Okay, so do you have to specify beginner? When you pull up on your bike and somebody be like, "Ooh, she a rider," do you stop them and be like,
I'm not gonna specify.
beginner?
No, I'm not gonna specify that for the average person. No, but I mean, I think if I'm having a conversation with a rider and we're talking about, riding and there, and I can clearly see, like if I'm having a conversation with you about riding, I know that you're a very advanced rider. You've been riding since you were 14. You know what I'm saying?
But does that make me advanced, or does that make me experienced?
Well, it makes you
I got years of riding under my belt.
Well, I consider you an advanced rider because you've not only done highway miles, state to state miles, you've done a lot of local riding. You know what I'm saying, in those years. So I think experience mixed with tenure, right? What y'all say, seniority, like, I think that has merit, like, and you can't discount that, you know what I'm saying? So that's just my perspective, and again, it's my opinion that I consider you advanced rider. You might not consider yourself an advanced rider, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's my perspective on it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you see two people pull up on bikes at bike night, one pulls in, he's a beast. He just comes in, feet is up on the, not get in the spot, whatever, no problem.
Yeah.
And you see the other guy duck walking, you know what I mean? Walking his bike around the spot, pulling it back, doing all that. He couldn't just ride into the spot. Automatically, what would your perception be? What would you think about those two?
Well, I personally probably wouldn't think nothing, but the average perception would be that the one that was duck walking is not as much of an experienced rider as the one who just came in, you know what I'm saying?
You
and
said you
parked.
wouldn't think that?
No, I wouldn't automatically just. I
So
probably
then
wouldn't even pay attention.
whose thought are you saying right now? Because that whose thought are you just saying right now?
I think the average person would think that. Like,
Okay, but I asked you.
Okay.
I'm not asking the average person. I'm asking you. What would you think?
I mean, if the question is if I'm comparing the two, then yeah, I probably would think that the one duck walking is not as experienced. But I just know enough that that doesn't necessarily mean that, because maybe the one that came in and just was like droop, 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 he just a good parker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So one is a rider, one is a parker.
Exactly. Like, and the other one might be a real rider. He just can't park. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it's your analogy that you just use for drivers.
So
right?
you got riders and then you got parkers.
Yeah, because it's the same analogy you just use for drivers. Like, somebody could be a really good driver, but they cannot parallel park to save their life. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that makes them not a driver. They just can't park. You know what I'm saying? So, again, I think that would be the average perception, but it don't necessarily mean that.
Okay, I got you. Well, I think it was an interesting conversation. Once again, we would like to thank Truth is Freedom.
Yeah.
For your insight on that, and y'all let us know. Once again, let us know what makes a rider a rider, and also what is it if you're watching from somewhere out of the States. What criteria? What is it that you have to go through that might be different? You know what I'm saying? Than like a 2 to 3 day course. Like what you have to have a certain amount of hours riding, with an instructor, or are there a different class of motorcycles and maybe you have to get licensed for the class of motorcycle, that you're riding, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But y'all let us know.
Down there in the comments.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, we appreciate y'all and we catch you on the next one.